So I believe this is the first time that we've met. I mean, you did see my video, so you know a little bit about me.
Yes, yes. I
So
saw that.
it's great to meet you. So tell me a little bit about what you do there at Tier Five.
Here, here I'm a software engineer, a senior software engineer. I'm working here for the last one and a half year, like that, in the PHP domain, like that.
So you're a software engineer, and you've been working there for about 1.5 years. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Just taking some notes here. Awesome. So, this is communications training where we're gonna work on our communications, and so one of the things that I worked with Abhijit last week was well, I guess it was a couple weeks ago because we had uh, Christmas break and New Year's break
Yes.
and things like that. So it was a few weeks ago. During that time period, you kind of forget, that was even time. You're like, what day is it? What am I doing? Christmas break. But one of the things that we had talked about last week was when we communicate to a few tips that we could work on is the basis of communication is just understanding what one person is relating to another. That's basic communication broken down. I understand what you're saying. You understand what I'm saying. And so,
Yes.
to establish that, to have great communication and have a mutual understanding, we've got a few tips and a few tools that we can work on to make sure
Yes.
that we have great communication.
Mhm.
And so, one of the things was that we repeat the question back to the person. So, what this allows us to do when we repeat the question back or repeat the statement back to the person is it allows us to process and understand what that person is saying. It gives that other person a chance to hear back what they actually communicated because they may not have communicated properly, and it gives you time to think of a response. So, for example, if you're in a high pressure situation and you repeat back to the person what they said, they can qualify, make sure that you understood them correctly, and it gives you time to think of something to say back to them. So, for example, like, when we were talking, one of the things that I said was, Samim, you've been a software engineer there at Tier 5 for 1.5 years. It gave you a chance to let me know if I got something wrong. And, as I repeat it back to you, you thought, okay, yeah, this guy, he's got it, he understands what I said.
Yes.
So, another thing that we could do is use a person's name. And using a person's name is like music to their ears. They love hearing it. Every once in a while, you could throw that in there. So what you're saying, Samim, is, and then repeat back to the person what they're saying.
What do you mean? That you will back to saying that whatever I am saying that you are repeating back. So that means you are saying that this is the mutual understanding and this is the communication.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a great way to establish rapport. Even though I've just met Samim, I really like this guy. He's great. He understands what I'm saying. He's got a smile on his face. If I was there, I'd shake his hand. Like, this is a cool guy. So, tell me a little bit more about I'm gonna do a little bit of role playing here, and we're gonna do like, let's say if we're doing an interview, right? And I'm interviewing you for a position at a tech company, and I'm gonna ask you a question about I'm gonna ask you some questions. So, with these questions, you could incorporate some of these techniques that we just talked about. You could repeat back to me, so you could say, so what you're saying, Eddie, is, and then repeat the question back. Hang on, I'm gonna wait for the network to connect better so that you can hear me.
can.
Yeah, I'm gonna wait until you can see me again and hear me properly. Are we good?
I can. Yes, I can see you.
Okay, awesome. So, Samim, you're interviewing for this software engineer position. Why do you think that you should get the job?
Why should I get the job? First of all, I think that I'm the person that whatever you need, that in your role as a software engineer, that the task what you have to do there, that what's going there, that I can do that and very well, and I'm actually expert on that. So I'm eligible person for that. So I think I can work on it.
Okay, that's good. Um, Tell me a little bit more about like your past experiences and what you've done.
In past experience, I I had worked with some few companies. All those companies are from India, and I learned various things from all those companies wherever I went. It's like in my first company, I learned the most of the things in my first company. There was no material, there was no project manager, and there was the special thing is that there was no designer. So most
Mm-hmm.
of the things I did. I learned all those things, and that those things actually helped me with, for lots of things, because I saw so many people, so many developers, they don't know all these things because they depend on some other person. But where from I am coming, I did all those things, so I get those knowledge. So I how to do that, and like went to some other company, and there in each company I learned so many things.
That's
This is
that's
yes, and
good. I think that we could improve on that a little bit. You know, like I heard what you were saying, Samim, was like that you've learned a lot of things. Hang on, I'll wait for the connection to get back up.
I'm not getting.
So what I heard you saying is to recap what you were saying, Samim, is that you learned a lot of things at the different companies that you were working at. Um, I would suggest that you look at some of the things that could benefit the person who's asking you the question. So whether it's an interviewer, whether it's a boss, whether it's a coworker or a project manager that's you're working on a project for, you could say something like, you know, ask some questions to kind of figure out, like I may be writing for a dating app, or I may be writing for a call center software. Like it could be two different things.
Yes,
Ask some discovery questions and find out what they're doing, because in their mind they're thinking, what's in it for me? How could I benefit from what you're offering me? And so the more specific that you can get with a person, the more like they're going to like and trust you. They're going to think Samim is the software engineer that we absolutely have to have. He gets our company. He understands he'll be a great fit. And he's going to, be the expert that we need.
yes,
So,
I have to express myself like that way, that whatever they need, I have all those ability, I have all those skill set, or whatever they need, and I am the best person for them. That I have to express, right?
yeah, exactly. So, let's say, in some of those examples where you're working at the different companies, what was a stressful situation that you had, and how did you overcome that stressful situation?
Yes, I came out from that stressful situation for so many days. Even it's like every day is like that. Every day, except Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
Yes. So our task is like that. So every day our task is you have to complete it by today.
Mm-hmm.
Today is the deadline. You have to complete it by today, and before the Christmas, you have to complete this whole project.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, we have to complete that 1 hour project in the 3 months. That is actually extremely stressful. So it's not like that. Sometimes it's coming stressful, and all other times are free. Except holidays, all days are actually stressful.
Yeah, so like if every day is very highly intensive, if there's a lot of pressure every day, how do you handle that? Like, what do you do to make it better?
To make it better, I mean what? See, I cannot reduce my workload that
Mm-hmm.
I have to do.
Mm-hmm.
So what I do, basically when I think that I have lots of work, and I cannot complete it within my working hours. So at that point of time, I need some fresh mind also, so I can complete it in the less time. So for that, I don't work for that whole day continuously. I take break for some time for refreshment, and it gives me so much energy to work again. So like
Mm-hmm.
that way I work when I'm facing so much workload.
So what you're saying is, that even if you have a huge workload and things like that, if you take some time to get your peace of mind, take time to take a break, it really helps you re-energize and get back to work.
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
Yes, you are correct.
A little bit?
I'm not getting you properly. That sound is breaking actually.
Oh, okay.
I-
All right. Well, I'll wait here for a second for the sound to come back on.
Okay, even I cannot see your face right now. It's totally blurred.
Is it frozen? Is it stuck?
It's stuck sometime, and it's moving, but I cannot see actually that it's like it's like a negative. It's totally blurred out.
Oh, okay. I have a good connection with you, so I'm not sure. Maybe it'll come in soon.
Okay.
So tell me what you thought about yesterday's lesson about perception. How you perceive yourself and how others perceive you.
If I say honestly that story, whatever you are saying in that video, uh, I couldn't got time to complete it because when you called before some time, I just started, and that video is not finished yet, and I just left. I just came here to meet with you.
Oh, okay. So you hadn't seen the video yet.
Yes, I
Okay,
saw that,
that's
but it's not completed.
yeah. Okay, awesome. So today I wrote down a lesson that was a little bit different about communications. We talked about perception, and the basics of communication, smiling, using someone's name, repeating some stuff back to each other. Um, and they all have benefits. Now, the next thing that I was going to talk about, this is really interesting, which is persuasion. So once you have good communication, there's a persuasion
Excuse me.
factor where,
Excuse me. Sir?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Perception. What you said, what you are going to say, that perception, or what you said that I'm not getting.
Yes, so I said after we had talked about the basics of communication, we talked about perception yesterday, which is on the video. The
Yes.
third thing that I was going to talk about today was persuasion. And
Persuasion.
yes, persuasion.
Yes. Sure.
And so persuasion is a little bit more of an advanced technique of communication. And persuasion is the art of getting what you want. And so you've established good communication, and then, assertiveness is speaking up when it's necessary, saying things when, there are times that you say things and there's times that you don't say things. And an assertive person knows the difference about when it's right to speak up and when you should just hold your tongue and not say anything because, it's short term, it'll pass. kind of like waiting in line for fast food and it's taking a long time or something, probably shouldn't say anything. But in other cases, you know, when you want to be assertive is when it will matter to you, like, you know, 10 minutes, 5 days, 10 days, 12 days down the road, you might want to say something, you know, because it's affecting you and it's benefiting you. So that's assertiveness. Persuasion, on the other hand, is something where, you know, you're not necessarily stating your case, but you're getting people on your side to believe the same thing that you believe. So, you know, I wanted to talk a little bit about that and find out, you know, what are some things that you would like to persuade people to see your way.
Yes. So that whatever like I as per my knowledge, as per logic, I understand something, and I like that thing. That this is so good. Suppose in my hand this is that some kind of thing, and I like that this is that some medicine or this is so good, and
Yeah.
I am telling you, hey, believe me, this is so good. Try this one, you will get good result. Like that way, right?
Yeah. So is that the one that you like?
What?
The one that you have in your hand, is that the one that you like? The Digene? Is that what it's called?
Yes, yes, yes. That
Okay.
I'm saying.
Yeah. So, perfect. That's exactly, you know, the idea of persuasion, you know. That could be, you know, social proof. It could be peer pressure, depending on how you use it. There's always two sides of persuasion, because you can persuade someone to do something on their own will, or you can manipulate them to do something against their will. So it's a very powerful tool. You always want to use it for good. You always want to use it to allow them to make the choice that you want them to make, and not manipulate them to feel pressured like they have to make a decision to what you want. And so, you know, with that, you know, you could in persuasion, you know, you want to influence people to make better choices, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, Samim, if I heard on the news that you were an expert on something, what would that be?
Yeah, where have you heard that I am expert on something?
Yeah, if I turn on the news right now and I see Samim on the TV right now, what would you be an expert on?
I'll advertise. I don't know actually what I will like advertise, but I'll advertise about some technology or something.
No, no. He's asking you what is your highest skill. Like if he sees an advertisement, what is the highest skill?
I still for what that
Your own skill.
yes in
Like
my
Laravel, like
yes
what
about
is the highest.
in my skill set. I'll give some. I'll tell something in TV, right?
Yeah.
That you were saying.
What is that?
That that whatever my skill set is there, I am in the TV and I am going to express myself to see that, or I'm giving out an advertisement, right?
So, an advertisement, what's the advertisement for? Am I understanding you correctly?
An advertisement is that something I am promoting, I am convincing or manipulating some people. This is the thing. This is that if you use that or whatever is that, I'm giving that information that what I want to
Mm-hmm.
to get that.
So what you're saying, Samim, is that you're an influencer. You're really great at convincing people to buy or to take action on a certain product.
Yes.
Awesome. So, you know, knowing that, you know, knowing what drives you and how you influence other people, that can really help you in your communications training. Because what this allows you to do is to know in your heart of hearts, you know, in your desire that you have to influence people and to have an effect on someone, you can start actually working on building yourself in that area. So knowing that you're good at being an advertiser, you can start working on how you can become an expert advertiser. So this is an area, some people may not want to be advertisers. Some people may want to be a writer. Some people may want to be a restaurant owner. There's a lot of different areas that you can become an expert in. So in that, you can start building yourself up and building a portfolio of why you're an expert. And this is why people will listen to you and have an influence and a following of you, because you're going to gradually improve your communications by starting out at the base, but moving yourself up as an expert communicator. Does that make sense, Samim?
Yes, not totally, but little bit.
A little bit? So tell me what you did understand out of that.
What I understood, tell me 1 second, please.
Yeah, so first off, did I understand you correctly? Did you say that, if I saw you on TV, you would be like an influencer or an advertiser?
I'm an advertiser, and I'm what the restaurant owner or advertiser.
So say that again. I'm sorry.
I'm an advertiser, or I'm that owner of that restaurant.
Okay, so if you have something that you're very passionate about that you want to work on, the first step was to determine your area of expertise, and we kind of did that exercise. If you turn on the TV, and I saw you on TV, what would that be? And you said, that you'd be an advertiser. So, your next step to working on persuasion, because we talked about, establishing the communication basics, perception, and now persuasion. And in persuasion, one of the things that you want to do next is to understand, your subject thoroughly, how to advertise. One of the greatest advertisers, his name is David Ogilvy, Olgivy. Have you heard of him?
No, I didn't heard about him.
Yeah, so he's like a big guy in New York. He's got a great advertising agency. And so if you're studying to be an expert, you would start with somebody like him. And, then you could make a spreadsheet with 1,000 blocks in it and write down each and every time you spend studying that subject. So you're developing your expertise and you're writing it down. And then you would want to develop opinions about that, like have an opinion about, everything because you're an expert. And then you would want to share your opinions. And before long, you'd write a book and you would be seen as an expert. And so that's how you kind of persuade people and influence them, is by building up your ideas and sharing them as an advertiser, as an influencer, and you'll have more persuasion because, you have the basics of communication down. You talk to people, you smile at them, you say their name, and then, you repeat back what they say to you, and you have the understanding of perception, that you have to have a good perception of yourself, that you have morning rituals that make you feel good, you talk well, you make sure that people have a good, positive impression of yourself, and that you believe that you're good. Once you watch that video, you'll understand what I'm talking about here, about the second lesson, which was perception. And then the third is persuasion, where you actually build yourself as an expert in a certain field that you're very passionate about.
I thought that first chapter, that first session is the perception and second is the persuasion, right? But here you just said that third is the persuasion. Then what is the first one?
So the first one was communication basics. Just establishing, like we did at the beginning of the video, is that the basics of that I understand you and you understand me. And so with that, we establish good communication is the mutual understanding of two parties. So whether that's you talking to your boss, you talking to, a project manager in the United States, or talking to, a coworker, you want to make sure that you have that mutual understanding that you understand what I'm saying and I understand what you're saying. And so we did that, to build rapport, make sure that we smile, we say their name, because it's like magic to people's ears, that we repeat back, and you asked a great question, so what was the first key? What was the second one was persuasion, the third one was perception. That was a great job, you got that. So, do you want to recap for me? Just tell me a little bit about what you learned and what your favorite takeaway was from today's lesson.
From today's lesson, I'm telling from the beginning that what I learned from
Okay.
up to now. We talked about three lessons. One is that basic communication. Basic communication is that understanding each other. That whatever I am saying, you understand that, and whatever I am saying that you are understanding, and the vice versa also. And uh, when we are talking that time, that take the name of that person and
Mm-hmm.
smile in your face. This is the basic things that we have to do. And second is the perception, and third thing is the perception. Perception. Actually, I forgot that perception because I didn't saw the video. And persuasion is that whatever I understood, whatever I like, and I'm manipulating other people that like this or do that. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just manipulating.
Yeah, absolutely. Perfect. So, that's great. And you're going to go back and you're going to finish that video, right?
Yes. Obviously, I'll do that.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. I'm glad. I thought it was pretty good, so I'm glad that you're gonna finish that and watch that through, because it's got some good stuff in there that I think you'll benefit from, Samim. And it was a pleasure meeting you. Do you have any questions for me?
Yes, I have question.
Yeah.
That I talked with you for the last few minutes. Then what you got the negative thing in within me that I have to improve. If you are not telling me that you are losing at that point of time, in that case, so I cannot improve myself. And actually, if I know that this is my negative thing and I have to improve that, and I don't know even that how will I improve it.
I'm sorry,
So
the internet was breaking up. Tell me one more time.
yes, okay. I'm just telling that we are talking for last few minutes, right?
Yeah.
So you observed me very well,
Hmm.
and you got that what are the negative points on me that I'm losing. I have to improve on that. So just tell me those things that I have to improve, and how will I improve those? That also, obviously, I will not know that how will I do that.
Okay, so you're asking, what I understand you saying, Samim, is that you're asking how you can improve on your communication.
Yes, and what negative things you got?
What negative things that I got from our conversation? Sure. So, the first thing that I would say that you could improve on is speaking up a little bit. You have a very uh, uh,
Very
uh,
quiet.
low voice, and it sounds great. I really like it, but you could put a little bit more enunciation behind it. So, making your words actually raise and lower when you speak. So it would make it easier for people to understand what you're saying if you could add a little bit of enunciation, which is just raising and lowering your voice when you talk. And then I would say that you could ask some good questions. So you asked some great questions towards the end of the call, but towards the beginning of the call, you were just answering some questions without quite enough information. You thought that you understood something when you could have asked a couple questions that would have really helped you answer the question a little bit better. So, for example, when I asked you, why would you be a good fit for this company, you weren't sure what the company was or what it
I'm
did.
not getting you. I think there is some problem with the internet.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Hello.
Okay.
Your stuff on my display.
All right. I'll wait for a second.
Tell me 1 second that what is. Now I'm getting you.
So we were talking about voice enunciation and then also asking good questions. So with asking good questions comes a better clarity of someone on the other side. So when you did this towards the end of the call, which was really great, you started asking me more questions. You recapped what I said. Just remember throughout this next week to before you answer a question, make sure that you understand it fully, and make sure to repeat the question back to that person because it's going to help you improve on your communication. So those are the two things that I think that you can improve on. I think that you're really great at convincing people to do things. You're really great at you've been at Tier 5 for a year and a half. They wouldn't have kept you if you weren't that great. So being there for a year and a half, I know that you're a hard worker. You handle your job well, and that when you're working and it's high stress, that's not for everybody. But that's great that you can handle that. And so I know that you're a really stand up guy, and you're good for that. So yeah, absolutely. Does that answer your question, or do you have any other questions for me?
So how will I resolve these things?
Okay. Yeah, so several things that you can do to improve your communication is
Your voice is breaking.
okay. Is to ask great questions. So when someone asks you a question, make sure you fully understand it. If you don't understand it, you can ask them a question, or recap it. So whenever somebody asks you a question, you either recap that question by saying, "So what you're saying, Samim, is this," or you ask them a question back. So if I said, you could get very specific. So like if somebody asks you a general question like, "Hey Samim, what do you think about the movies?" And you're like, I could answer that question, or I could say, "What movie were you talking about?" "Oh, I was just thinking about the movies that are out right now." Okay, well that eliminated 3 million movies that I could have talked about, and now we're down to just the ones that are in the theater. "Oh yeah, were you talking about action, or were you talking about horror, or were you talking about, kids movies, or, what type of movie were you talking about?" "Oh, it was that one that was out about The Greatest Showman, P.T. Barnum." "Oh, actually, I was, about to go see that movie, and then we could talk about what the previews and things like that. And, that person maybe didn't ask the best question. So what you can do to improve your communication is when somebody asks you a question, drill down on that question and find out what they really want to know. Because people, when they communicate to you, Samim, they may not know exactly what they're asking until you ask them qualifying questions.
Yes, you mean if I recap that question or if I break it up and asking back that question, so I'll get that exact thing that of what he mean to say,
Right.
and
You're
it will.
gonna you're gonna pull that out of their mind, just like exactly what they want to know.
Yes. Okay, I got it.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Thanks, Samim.
Thanks, Eddie. Okay.
All right. I'll talk to you later. Watch that video, and it was great talking with you.
Okay, Ankit is here.
Is it done?
Yeah. So, hi, Nikita. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good. It's done?
Yep. We're all done.
So, how was it?
It was good. Samim had some. We did have more of a communication gap that than we did with who was it?
Abhijit and Kagi?
Yes, Abhijit and Darty. So I think he needs to work a little bit more on his communication than the others. But he's I think that he understood, and he's going to watch the video from yesterday. But yeah, that's my recap.
Yeah, actually, he's the most senior developer here, so he basically, I need to, I need to improve his communication much more than others because he is a senior developer and I can't, afford that he's lacking in communication, that I cannot have him speaking to the client or communicate, at least write down to the chat with the client. I cannot have him do that right now because of his communication gap, because of his communication problem. So that's why I told him to do the communication training with you today, because so that you can, at least he can know, because I always tell him that, Samim, this is you're doing wrong, this is you should learn, this is you should you are saying it the wrong way, you should use this, you should do this, but he still needs someone else to say the same thing to him, so that he actually can understand, like, okay, I'm doing wrong something, so I have to improve.
Right. One of the things that I think will help him, and that he asked about, and that I reiterated several times, was to ask qualifying questions. So, just don't take a question that somebody asks you and answer it immediately. With generalized, he kind of said that he was an expert in a lot of things, and he had different jobs where his experience went over. That was a very generalized answer. It really didn't help me understand who he was or what his experience was. And I said I could have been a dating app, or I could have been a call center software, and I needed a senior developer, and you didn't understand the project at all. You just answered that you had, you were very skilled, you were an expert, and you had great experience. Well, pull a little bit more information out of me to find out exactly what I need so that you can serve me effectively. So, that's the biggest takeaway for Samim, is to ask qualifying questions so that he can answer it effectively and really be, he's smart, and I know that he's one of the best developers. He's been there for 1.5 years, so that means that you guys keep him around. He's doing a great job. He does great at his job, but he can improve on his communication.
Right, exactly. That's the main thing that he's lacking at right now. I mean, he really sucks at communication. Like when I speak to him, he says so many wrong. Like he doesn't know the grammatical mistake required to put what, those plus tense. After, I have seen these guys always do that. Like after did, they always put past tense. Like did, had, I did, went.
Yeah.
Yeah, after did you have to put present, go, I did go there, or I didn't have it, like that. But no, I didn't had it. So I'm like, who, what? What you were saying doesn't make sense. So yeah, that's what they lack. Grammatical, plus they can find the words, when they are expressing, they cannot find proper words, vocabulary. They are actually lacking in that also. So.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. And I guess you guys are about done there. You know, your shift is about over. So I will talk to
No,
you guys later. But what's that?
no, it's not
Oh,
because
it's not?
because first of all, no, it's not because it's only 7:30 and they stay here like until 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. Most of them they stay until 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, okay.
And also we are leaving for a trip today because tomorrow is our company's second anniversary, like 2 years anniversary. So we are going for a small picnic. So outside, like it's a 9 hours bus journey. So we are going. So we are leaving around 12 o'clock or something. So near around that. So
Oh, that sounds cool. That's awesome.
yeah, we
Yeah,
are off tomorrow.
when John posted the hours, he said 1 to 8 your time. So maybe he doesn't want communications training after 8, which is fine because usually I'm working anyways.
Yeah, because most of the people leave, but like maybe out of 30, at least 10 people you will see they're still working until 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock. So that's why he said the general time is. He mentioned the general time that in this time you will find everyone. You will get anyone that you want to have the communication training.
Okay, yeah, and that works out well for me too because generally, you know, I'll start work in 5 minutes, so that will be perfect. So I usually just go to work early, bring my laptop, and do communications training for like an hour or something like that before work.
Yeah, because I have seen the background, your company logo was there, like the background that you sit. So I have seen that logo. So obviously you are in office.
Yeah.
Were in office. Yeah.
Right. So I go into the offices early and do that. So perfect. I'll get this video up so that you guys can you know, John asked that I upload these videos. So I'll get this uploaded. It's recorded and everything. So you guys have a great trip, a great picnic, Nikita, and everybody enjoy, all right?
Yeah, you have a great day too, Eddie.
All right. Thank you. I will. Bye.
Yeah, bye. Bye, Eddie.